Before I even explain to you how to increase your Equifax credit score, let's first go back to the origins. Let me give you an overview. What is Equifax for real? Now, Equifax is a credit bureau or a company that compiles information about individual consumer lending habits to create just a credit report. They do the same thing on the business side, so they have the Equifax business. So basically, it's one of those. It's important to remember that Equifax is the oldest credit bureau, and they actually began in 1899. And back then, they were called the Retail Credit Company. Okay, there are two other major credit bureaus in the states right now. We have Experian and TransUnion. So when you check your credit report, it will always be from one of the three credit bureaus. Okay, so depending on the lender that you are choosing to apply for your loan, or the credit card issuer where you want to apply to get a credit card, they will check a credit score. So it could be from Equifax, from Experian, or TransUnion. So lenders, banks, and credit card companies, they report account activity to credit bureaus like Equifax. So what's happening here is that if you are evicted or if you default on a medical bill, your landlord or doctor's office may report that information to Equifax and to the other credit bureaus. That's standard normal procedure. That's how the system works. Okay. Now, one thing you need to understand that companies are not legally required to report information to all three credit bureaus. They're not. Okay. This is why sometimes you have discrepancies between one credit report and another. So, for example, some companies will report to Experian, some will report exclusively to TransUnion, and some will report exclusively to Equifax. So, bottom line is that the calculation is kind of skewed because one agency doesn't have all the data, and so on and so forth. So when you apply for a loan, let's say you apply for a loan, credit card, or you apply for a personal line of credit, what will happen here is that the lender or credit card provider will look up your credit report. So they may view reports from all three credit bureaus, or just one or two. It really depends. And if you are applying for a major loan like a mortgage, the lender will most likely pull credit reports from all three credit bureaus, and they do this all the time. And this procedure is the same also when you are applying for a car. Okay, so when it comes to TransUnion versus Equifax, you need to understand that some people think that TransUnion is more reputable because of the 2017 Equifax hack. Okay, in reality, both companies have experienced data breaches in recent years. Okay, so long story short, I'm just giving you a sneak peek into Equifax so you have a clear idea of what we're talking about. So the second thing you need to do here is you need to know how to check your Equifax credit score. If you want to increase your Equifax credit score, you need to first know how to check it, right? This is logic. This is the first step in the formula. So remember, you have the option to check your Equifax score two ways. There are two ways. You can either view your Equifax FICO score or your Equifax Vantage score. And the thing here is that FICO and Vantage score are the two main credit score models that lenders use when approving an applicant. Okay, now having said that, FICO is more popular, is more widespread, with over 90% of banks, credit card services, and loan companies relying on FICO's credit scores. And the thing is that free credit scores sites usually rely on Vantage score. Okay, now there are other credit models though, but they are rarely used. So you can check your Equifax FICO score through MyFICO, which shows all 28 FICO credit scores. And there are different credit score models for various lenders, such as mortgage lenders, auto lenders, and credit card companies. That's why you're likely able to see so multiple Equifax credit score. Now, Equifax FICO score. One thing I want to say here is that you can also check your Equifax FICO score through third parties such as NerdWallet, Wallet Hub, you have Credit Karma, you have your bank, your credit card company. Like right now, I'm sure if you have a credit card, you will see that some banks that will show your credit report on your statement, and sometimes they will give you access to your credit score also if you log into your account. So this is pretty very easy. And remember that once a year, you are entitled, okay, by a law that Congress passed a long time ago, you are entitled to one free credit report from all three credit bureaus. So you have to go to a website called annualcreditreport.com, and and they have to do it annually. So you have to do it once a year. And you go there, you just get your data, you see whatever is in there, you can see the report, you can see the score itself. So you do have that chance once a year, or whenever you are denied credit. You can also check your credit score to see what really happened, whether there's a mistake or not. Okay, but yeah, so the first thing you need to, actually that's the second thing. If you want to increase your Equifax credit score, number one, you need to know what Equifax is. Number two, you need to check your Equifax credit score. Number three, you need to boost your Equifax score. You need to actually find out the different ways you need to what you need to do to actually boost your Equifax score. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're talking about how to increase your Equifax score like crazy. Okay, credit score like crazy, and so. There are a few things you can do if you want to boost your Equifax score. First thing first, you have to track your credit score. I already said it. It's done, not a problem. You tracked it, you know what's in there. But the thing is that once you tracked it, you need to put down on a piece of paper, you got to put down your score. You got to put down the date. So let's say today, January 1st, 2015. So you checked your FICO score. Okay. Your Equifax score. You find that you are 678. Okay. You want to write it down. So you want to put it somewhere and say, I saw this on this date. The reason why you want to do this is because you are going to track it over time. And so you are sure whether you are making progress or not, right? Because the last thing you want to have is you do everything and then there's no actually result to show for it. There's no fruit to actually bear here. And this is actually you being double disappointed, because not only did you waste your time, and number two, you did not see the fruit of it. So don't be reckless. You want to write down your score. If you see some derogatory items that are bothering you, you want to write them down too, and you want to start working on those. So if you want to boost your Equifax score, track it. You want to start tracking it. Number two, you want to make payments on time. And all the time. I know that, when I say this, some viewers say, well, I've heard this before, blah, 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 blah. But listen, if you've heard it before, why are you still in the same situation? You know what works. Just do it. Start doing it, right? Because your payment history accounts for 35% of your FICO credit score. We know that. The 30% comes from your CUR, your credit utilization ratio. Start working on that also. I'll talk about that later on. But right now, I want you to focus on the fact that you need to make payments on time. Whatever needs to be done. I don't care if you're currently going through a divorce, or you're currently moving, you're currently dealing with the kids, with the constellation of expenses. You have to be in a situation where you are able, you make yourself comfortable enough to pay your bills on time. The next thing I want you to do here is to lower your credit utilization ratio. This is really important. Your credit card utilization is really important, okay? And it's not just about credit card, it's also about revolving lines of credit. So my question to you is, do you currently have a CUR that's high? If it is high, what's causing this sort of increase in the CUR? Is it because of the kids? Is it because of your wife, your husband? Your family members, your parents? Are you going on vacation all the time? Is it because you probably bought a house and now you don't have enough revenue to cover all bills and still have a decent savings amount? So what's causing that? Because you have credit cards, so check that your utilization percentage is lower than 30%. Normally, that number should be 0%. If you actually pay your full balance every single month, because you don't want to live beyond your means. You don't want to charge things that are above your pay grade for now, because right now you're working hard to make sure you get to that level, but right now you don't want to charge stuff so that you are trying to pretend you are living the life. No, don't start getting to la vida loca trying to have some kind of crazy life where you can't afford. Okay, now you have to understand that you want to be around 30% or less, but in our view you should be in single digit. Okay, but it is what it is. So credit card companies do not monitor this ratio, so you have to do this math yourself. Okay, the next thing you want to do if you want to boost your Equifax score is to keep old accounts open. Okay, it is what it is, because the average age of your credit history makes up 10% of your FICO score. So this has a direct impact on your Equifax score. Okay, and the thing is, every time you close an old account, whether the account was reported to Equifax or not, you are reducing your overall account age. Okay, and so keep credit cards open as long as possible to avoid actually shortening your credit history. So avoid closing any credit cards unless there is a steep annual fee. If there's a steep annual fee, then yeah. If not, you have nothing to lose actually. I mean, some credit cards, just stay there, just look at them, they look at you. You can have this back and forth for many years. That's fine. It ain't bothering you. You want to become an authorized user. I know this sounds a little simple, but it's not. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's conversation, the topic. We're talking about how to increase your Equifax credit score like crazy. So I'm just telling you, becoming an authorized user is not easy. Why? Because you have to convince someone to actually trust you enough to allow you to hold on to their credit. Now, if you're lucky, your parents are there, okay, that's fine. But if your parents don't have a good credit score, if they don't have good credit worthiness themselves, then you need to actually think about somebody else. Do you have a friend who'll be willing to help you out? Do you have a sister? Do you have a brother? Whatever. What do you have right now? Who do you have who can help you actually increase your FICO score? And most importantly, becoming an authorized user and then increasing your FICO score, because there are many perks, there are many advantages to becoming an authorized user, because you're basically parlaying somebody else's good credit into your own credit. This is this sort of indirect transfer of goodwill, if you will, some indirect transfer of good reputation, if you will. So you can try to become an authorized user, or you can get a credit builder loan. Yeah. If you think about it, credit builder loans are uniquely designed to help consumers improve their credit. So this is really good. And yeah, so you can get a credit builder loan. And one thing I want to say, no matter what, you need to know your credit. No matter what, you need to know your Vantage score 3.0. You need to know your FICO score. You need to know the difference. And I'm not talking about just having a vague understanding of what the difference is, like the conceptual level. No, you need to know your actual. You who are listening to me you listening to me right now? You got to know your actual number, and from that number, you can start plotting. You can start having strategies to actually go up in the ladder, on the FICO ladder, or the Vantage score ladder. It really depends. You have to plan. You have to be consistent. Very, very important. I want to give you a few pro tips. Let's say you are actually in the process of reviewing your Equifax credit report, right? And you actually saw some errors. And so there is a whole process that you need to follow to dispute an error on your credit report. Okay, first thing first, you need to send a letter to the credit bureau. And we say this all the time. If you're trying to increase your Equifax credit score and you find an error, don't you just send an error to Equifax. You got to send it to all three, because you never know what's on the other two. You don't know. I mean, you don't want to spend time just sort of like, if you have time, of course, you want to download those reports, those two extra reports, TransUnion and Experian, and sort of dig a little deeper to see what's really happening here. And let me give you the PO box where you can send your dispute letters to. For Equifax, it's Equifax PO Box 740256, Atlanta, Georgia 30374-0256. For TransUnion, you have a TransUnion LLC, Consumer Dispute Center, PO Box 2000, Chester, Pennsylvania 19016. And then you have Experian, and for Experian you have PO Box 4500, and it's Allen, Texas 75013. So you do have it. Like, this is basically the process, or the physical address is where you can just send your dispute letter. One thing I want to say here is that remember that errors on credit reports could include identity related errors such as misspelled name, wrong phone number or address, or your information incorrectly merged with another person's credit record. You have incorrectly reported accounts such as closed accounts reported as open, or an account wrongly reported as delinquent. You have account balance and limit and credit limit errors. You have reinsertion or inaccurate information after it is corrected. So you do have a constellation of factors that could actually create this sort of errors. Okay, now you need to determine if you should contact the furnisher as well. See, the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Bureau, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they actually recommends that you contact the company that provided the data to the credit bureau in the first place. So those are called furnishers. So this is it's important to understand that furnishers can be banks and credit card issuers. So you want to contact Discover and just start the conversation there. Okay, this is really important. One thing you have to do also, this is very important, you have to wait up to 45 days for the credit bureau to or the data furnisher to investigate and respond. Okay, so if you're trying to increase your Equifax credit score like crazy and you found an error and you reached out to Equifax, don't actually bother them every 10 days or every 5 days to ask them about the issue. This is not YouTube, this is not Facebook. It takes time. So when we talk about a dispute process, it takes time. They have to verify a constellation of things, and if the credit bureau is wrong, as I think they are in this case, then they'll just rectify their error and just send it back to you. Okay, and remember that you don't want to force the credit bureau to be in a situation where they have to ignore your dispute letters, because if you start playing games, if you open an entire drama mama kind of thing, like this is kind of crazy, and start shouting and whatever, if you do that, they'll just put your file in the garbage can, and they'll just play with your mind. Don't do it. Okay, be professional. You want to send them a letter, be professional and send them one letter, wait for 45 days, for 50 days or 30 days or whatnot, and just send them another letter. Okay, I'm talking about the credit bureau. Okay, and remember, if they get back to you, you want to review the results of the investigation. You want to review everything. You want to see what they wrote, what happens. And the thing is that the credit bureau has the responsibility to contact anybody who provided data to them. They don't have to do independent research here, okay, to sort of see if you, or let's say you as a borrower, or you as a credit card borrower, you are a good person, quote unquote good person. No. They're not there for that. They will just investigate the case you brought to them, and they just render a decision. And if they actually render a decision that goes in your favor, check for updates to your credit reports, because the updates must be very, very quick. Okay, they probably, you can see it like within 2 days or 3 days that your data is kind of clean, and now your Equifax credit score went up like crazy. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. I was just talking to you today about how to increase your Equifax credit score like crazy. So I explained to you what Equifax really is, how do you check your Equifax credit score, and I gave you a few pro tips. Thank you so much. I will speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.